Good day, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. In the ongoing coverage of the Ethiopian Civil War, I'd like to kind of focus on the current strategy of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. And as we know, the TDF was able to regain hold of most of the Tigray region and evict those forces of the Ethiopian army, the Amhara militias, and the Eritrean army out of areas of the Tigray region. And since then, obviously, the TDF has made moves south into the Amhara region, pressing all the way to Waldea, and obviously seizing control of Kobo and other towns along the way as well. And then we've also seen another front along the central front, as I define it, with the siege of Debark now taking place. And I think we've become focused in terms of persons watching the conflict that somehow the Tigrayan strategy transform from one of a guerrilla type of strategy with certain elements of conventional warfare intermixed to almost a strictly conventional type of engagement as it moves south. And that's simply not the case. The Tigrayan Defense Forces continue its strategy of operating much like a guerrilla type of force that is operating inside of the Amhara region. Now, while there are intense elements of a conventional strategy, as we've seen the direct seizure of towns and cities, and we've also seen direct engagements by the TDF against Ethiopian army forces and Amhara militias, such as what occurred north and northeast of Waldea, and then obviously what occurred on the road to Alamata from Korem. So we've seen what we would almost define as a fairly conventional fight in some cases, but at the same time, the lead strategy of the TDF right now would seem not to seize control of every city that it gets to, but continue to operate and create that industrial strength insurgency inside of the Amhara region. So they're looking to penetrate deeply into the Amhara region, the Afar region, and other areas of Ethiopia with the goal of setting up ambushes, destroying Ethiopian supply columns, much like they did during the conflict that took place inside of the Tigray region. But they've taken that conflict and that strategy that they conducted inside of the Tigray region, and they have pushed that into the Amhara region. So many of the same strategies and methodologies in terms of warfare, we are now seeing that inside of the Amhara region. We are not seeing it in certain areas where a direct conventional attack would have to take place across flat landscape, such as Western Tigray. But in the hilly terrain of the Amhara regions, the TDF is flourishing. It is penetrating deeply, and it is cutting off and destroying Ethiopian supply convoys and regular Ethiopian military units. We've heard reports of another ambush that took place inside of the Amhara region as these TDF units press further south and west into the Amhara region. And again, they're not always seizing control of cities, but they do have certain of bases of operation now where they can freely operate inside of the Amhara region, such as Kobo, and they are now pushing west and south and further into the Amhara region to conduct these operations. And we've now seen the TDF push further past Lalibela. While Lalibela has been cordoned off and placed under a sort of siege, the TDF continue to strike at military significant targets elsewhere in the region as well. So again, that same strategy that was used inside of the Tigray region is now being used inside of the Amhara region and other areas as well. And then the goal is this is just to really kind of strangle the Ethiopian state, destroy its economy, destroy its military, destroy the ability to feed and supply its military, and eventually, and the same strategy is also being utilized against the Amhara militias. When the Tigray Defense Forces are able to besiege Waldea that has a known presence of Amhara militias, they are not going to allow themselves to get into an urban fight with these Amhara militias. These Amhara militias or any paramilitary group are usually going to do a little better on the defensive than on the offensive. They're just not trained to conduct those type of operations. But a set place, a defensive operation, these Amhara militias would do a little better as opposed to an offensive operation. So that would then, if you besiege these cities such as Waldea, at a certain point, these Amhara militias are going to have to attempt a breakout. At a certain point, they will have to do that, as no food, supplies, and so forth are getting into Waldea. They've cordoned it off. So when these Amhara militias try to conduct these breakout operations, or vice versa, the Ethiopian army or other Amhara militias from other parts of the Amhara region attempt to move into Waldea, obviously they are going to be ambushed and destroyed by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. And this is not an issue where the Tigrayan Defense Forces are having to penetrate the city of Waldea and launch a major offensive operation. It's just a continuation of the siege concept, but at the same time as these forces try to enter Waldea or exit Waldea, the Tigrayan Defense Forces then can execute well-planned ambushes, which they are very proficient at, and we have seen those ambushes very effective that have played out much of this conflict, especially in the Tigray region. So the strategy of laying siege and then laying ambushes is a continuation of the conflict that the TDF executed so well inside of the Tigray region, and we're now seeing that inside of the Amhara region. I think again we've kind of gotten to this concept where it would be a city-by-city liberation march to whatever the objective would be. Would it be Gondar? Would it be even possibly Addis Ababa? That could still be in the cards. However, right now the strategy is one to encircle urban areas and then defeat units as they try to maneuver along roadways in these steep mountainous areas of the Amhara region. And it has become very effective for the Tigrayan Defense Forces. More to come as events warrant. Have a great day, everybody.